So Germany is just one factor of World War II because, again, the war covers many regions. When we look back on this era, we see other wars are adding to the tension, the world tension, that maybe helps produce or spurs on the war itself. I've talked briefly that in 1936 there's the Spanish Civil War, which Germany uses some of its aircraft in bombings to demonstrate and test their strength. We also have, in the 1930s, Japan invades Manchuria, which kind of sets up their larger agenda, and Germany and Japan will at one point unite during the war. So there's a series of maneuvers. There's a lot of pacts happening. There's a pact of steel between Germany and Italy. So generally, everyone again is feeling tense that war is on the eve of history, and many people are pushing for some ways to stop this from happening. And in 1938, Hitler has his sights on Czechoslovakia, and this wish is acquiesced by the West, and eventually by March of 1939, Germany invades Czechoslovakia, dismembers it. It's divided among Germany, and some of Hungary retrieves land that was lost under the Treaty of Versailles, or the Treaty of Trianon for them. And so Hitler is basically redrawing the map, and everyone is hoping this is going to be enough to stop future war. A lot of people blame Britain for what happens, but if we look at Britain in the 1930s, they're overextended before this crisis begins. Their colonial lands spread far and wide throughout the world, and they have troops and naval boats all over the world, and were unable to address a strong and re-emerging militaristic Germany. The war begins in 1939, and what precedes the actual invasion of Poland on September 1st, 1939, is what is known as the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Molotov was the foreign minister of Russia. Ribbentrop was the foreign minister of Germany. They make a secret agreement, or sign a secret agreement, on August 23rd, 1939, saying that they will not interfere with each other in this future war, and they will divide territory now that will create a state of peace between these two re-emerging empires. And part of this is to, again, redraw the map of Eastern Europe. Russia will be able to recover most of its Baltic territories, so the nations of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania will become underneath the umbrella of the Soviet Union, and Russia or the Soviet Union will regain parts of Poland that they once controlled, and areas of today that we consider Belarus. So they expand west. Germany is able to expand eastward and regain lost Polish territories that they had taken over or had possession of during World War I, and areas of Lithuania that were once under East Prussia were regained as well. So basically these two emerging dangerous powers come to an agreement about what the world will look like in Eastern Europe. And what really terrified many people about this is the fact that these two were sworn enemies. They had spent the 30s addressing propaganda at each other. Hitler's main message was against Bolshevism. It was against the Soviets. It was against the Slavs to the east. And he makes this link that Jews are communists, or Bolsheviks, or Soviets. And the Russians had spent the last 20 years really associating capitalism with the evils of the West, and then linked fascist Germany with this equation. So they both have these propaganda equations against each other. It's their main source of propaganda is directed at each other. And suddenly they've made an agreement with each other. So like I said, this terrifies the Western powers. If Hitler would have kept his promise and not have attacked the Soviet Union, the history of 20th century Europe would have been much different. This pact will only last for a couple of years, and then Hitler will invade the Soviet Union, and all will change from that point on. But in 1939, this is made. So that's made on August 23rd. The war begins 8 days later. Germany invades Poland under the pretense that he's going to liberate the Germans of Danzig and such. The war in Poland only lasts a few weeks. There's no natural territorial boundaries that would help the Poles defend themselves against the Nazi war machine. And Hitler's generals employ a new form of warfare called Blitzkrieg, which in German means lightning warfare. And basically this meant that a series of Panzer tanks and aircraft will swarm basically a territory as quickly as possible, with ground troops following behind in the rear. So there's this quick domination of weaponry in an area. So there's bombing and aircraft and tanks, and what you probably think of as modern warfare is really starts here with the Nazis, and the Polish army is just not going to be able to withstand this. To the east, the Soviets march in also into eastern Poland a few weeks later. Really after Germany has succeeded. The Soviets didn't want to appear as invaders, even though they will once Germany declares this over. What was different in this war starts from the very beginning. Hitler's his discussion of annihilation of the Jews is going to happen from the beginning, and he wants to decapitate Polish society from leading an uprising. So along with the Blitzkrieg is orders for the German army and groups that will follow behind, called the Einsatzgruppen, to find the Polish intellectuals and leaders, so the academics, the professors, the professionals, and murder these people outright, including priests and local leaders and such. So part of this attack on Poland is a two-pronged attack. So there's this pure military attack, and then there's attack on the intellectual base in Poland. They're concerned with possible Polish uprisings. They don't want leaders to do that. So there's these groups called Einsatzgruppen, who this is their main push. They follow the Wehrmacht, the German army, and do cleanup actions. So as the army pushes through, they follow behind and round up people and murder them, and line them up in the streets and burn them in homes, and enact a form of brutality that we had not ever seen at such an early stage of a war before. And with this order as well to kill every Jew, and this even from the beginning meant women and children, and this too is a surprise to most people. And we'll talk about how there was certain gendered reactions to this this type of warfare.